Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here today. I'm excited to dive into one of the most powerful tools you can have as a designer, a communicator, or a UX professional. It's your portfolio. This is going to be first in a series, so this is going to start with the basic tools. And let's just start with a quick reality check. Portfolios aren't just galleries anymore. They're storytelling tools. They give employers or collaborators a window into not just what you did, but how you think, how you solve problems, and how you grow. And in fields like communications and UX design, portfolios are often more important than resumes. They show instead of just tell. So today, here's what we're going to do. We're going to learn the different formats portfolios can take. There are several different ways you can choose to do your portfolio. Explore how to quickly create one using Adobe Express, no design degree required, and apply smart design and accessibility principles to make your work shine for everyone. So let's jump in. If an employer Googled you today, what would they find that represents your professional strengths? So we want to think about your digital presence and your credibility. If you think that you don't have a digital footprint right now, try and Google yourself and see, because everybody does. And you want your employer or future client to see the best side of you and to see what you're really about. And so we want to be really intentional about what that digital presence looks like and how credible it portrays you. So what is a portfolio? A portfolio is a curated collection that showcases your skills, your achievements, and your growth. It demonstrates your ability to communicate professionally, organize information, and reflect on your learning. We're going to show you two different types of portfolios, a slideshow style and a web page style. And again, this is just at a basic level. And I have a lot of links that I normally give if this is a live event and when I have students that are interacting, and I will put those in the chat. So since you are watching a recorded version, I will give you an email address at the end of this presentation, and I will send you all of the resources that we talk about during this event. So first up are formats. There are two main ones to consider. Slideshow style portfolios. These are like PDFs or slide decks. They're simple to make. They're great for presentations or interviews. They're less interactive or detailed though. Web page style portfolios. Think Adobe Express web pages or portfolio sites. You can use any platform you want to create this web page. You do have a free license as a student to use Adobe Express, and we're going to talk about that as we get later into this series. But these are flexible, interactive, they're better for storytelling. However, they're slightly more effort to build, but more rewarding in the long term. So why do portfolios matter? So here are some statistics. 74% of recent hires say their portfolio was important in helping them land their first UX role. 37% said it was very important. 90% of those responsible for hiring say they consider a portfolio to be an important element of an entry-level candidate's application. 32% says it's very important. This is from the UX Design Institute's summary of that same report. Portfolios are no longer just nice to have. They've become a must-have. Employers often, or future clients, only have time to skim 1 to 2 case studies. So make sure that you're focusing your best work at the beginning of your portfolio. So what to include? The gold standard are case studies. You want to walk people through the problem you were solving, the process you used, and the final solution or outcome. You want to balance your visuals and written content. Don't just throw it all in screenshots. Tell us why it matters. Also, don't forget to highlight your soft skills and process thinking, how you collaborated, how you adapted. If you had to pivot halfway through, or even if it wasn't a successful outcome, talk about that. How did you make decisions? How did you change halfway through it, possibly? And then what did you learn through that? Those things matter just as much as the final deliverable. Here is a quote from Indeed Design from UX Design Portfolio Advice from Hiring Managers. They say a strong UX portfolio is the most important part of a designer's job application. And from one hiring leader, it says the portfolio is king. Work experience is important, but don't think a degree is as important. And then case studies. We're going to talk a lot about case studies as you move on through this series. One of the hiring managers said, "I like to see project overviews summarizing the problem statement." Problem statements are huge, and we're going to talk about how to specifically post those. The process, the team's makeup, and the candidate's role. Okay, so let's talk design because how your portfolio looks says a lot about how you think. Employers are gravitating towards interactive web-based portfolios that feel more like a product experience themselves. And storytelling is playing a bigger role. Hiring managers want a glimpse of what your process looks like and how you think through ambiguity. So first, color. Your color choices reflect your personal or professional brand. And in some of your assignments, you're going to spend some time thinking about what is your professional brand. There are a lot of assessments that you can take online, personality assessments that really help you zone in on what makes you you. Professionally, what do you bring to the table? So, just some examples. If you want to feel trustworthy, these are obviously just generalizations, but blues and grays work well. Creativity, something that is bright like purple, offbeat combos. Energy typically is associated with the reds, oranges, warm tones. There are some really cool tools on Adobe. There's a Adobe color palette and the contrast checker. You can build a palette that feels very seamless from your first slide to your last or the beginning of your website to the end, so everything feels cohesive. You can use the contrast checker on Adobe to make sure your combinations are readable. Remember, accessibility really matters here, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more. Typography matters. So your fonts, use no more than 2 fonts, one for your headings and one for your body of text. They should be complementary, not clashing. So there's some examples here. Also, keep your line lengths between 40 and 80 characters. No more than 80 characters on a line. This is easier on the eyes. I'm going to show you some examples, but make sure your text resizes well on different screens, especially for mobile viewers. So you may want to test what it looks like on the computer screen compared to if somebody was checking it out with their phone. Is it still easy to read? Think of typography as the voice of your portfolio. Calm, confident, clear. So here is an example where they picked fonts from the same family but in different styles and weights. So Helvetica, there's the thin version and then there's the bold and condensed version. They're still in the same family, so they're complementary. Obviously, they're different, but they don't clash. You can also choose 2 fonts that contrast. So maybe a serif and a sans serif. So serif typically have those if you look at a T or an F, it's got the little feet on the bottom. I don't know how else to explain that. And then sans serif means that that's removed, so it's very simple. So you can contrast things just like this second example here, but you only want to use 2 fonts total. All right, so line length examples. These 2 slides have the exact amount of text. On the left-hand side, they chose to stretch the font or stretch the text at the bottom all the way across. On the right-hand side, they kept it to 40 to 80 characters per line. And so when you look at it, just subconsciously, your brain wants to read the one on the right more than the one on the left. The one on the left feels like it's a lot more to read, even though it's exactly the same. So keep that in mind when you're creating your pages. You want some white space, and you want to make sure that you only have 40 to 80 characters per line. Layout and alignment. A clean structure can make even a basic project look polished. Use grid systems to keep things aligned. I'm going to show you some examples of that. Use generous white space. Don't crowd your work. Typically, we prefer left-aligned text over fully justified. It's easier to read. And we're going to look at a quick before and after to see how small tweaks can make a big difference. So on this page, we've got left-aligned versus justified text. Left aligned, easy to read. Your brain comprehends it very easily. The right hand, even though it's nice and neat because both of the margins are aligned on left and right, there's all of that extra space in the middle, and that is harder for people to read. Some statistics too, just to think about here. How do recruiters look at your design portfolio? 80% of recruiters say they spend 3 minutes or less on a candidate's portfolio. So all of these little things, the font, the white space, the alignment, the colors, they seem like simple choices, but if a recruiter, potential client is only going to spend 3 minutes on your portfolio, you want to make sure that all of those things are checked and professional. Design managers may spend a little bit longer. 54% say they spend 5 to 10 minutes. 11%, only 11% spend more than 10 minutes on a portfolio. Accessibility and inclusivity. Why accessibility is so important. It shows you're thinking beyond just aesthetics, you're thinking about people. So you want to make sure that it's professional and it's easy to read. Some quick guidelines. Use high contrast between your text and your background so that it is easy to read. Add alternative text to images. Screen readers need it. Structure your content with clear headings and simple navigation. Adobe Express actually makes a lot of this easy. You don't have to be an expert. You just need to care and be consistent. Okay, so now is time for a quick hands-on session. You're going to start building your first portfolio slide or page in Adobe Express. Typically, this is where we would break into groups. Here's the 3-step process. You would pick a template in Adobe. Choose one that fits your style or your project. There are a lot of templates to choose from. You can filter them to find something that really speaks to you. Add a project image, something visual to anchor your case study, and then choose your fonts and color palette based on what we've just learned. So if you want to pause this video, take a few minutes and go try this out, and then we will move on from here. All right, so let's bring it all together. Your portfolio is a story, not just a showcase. Your design choices, your color, your type, your layout, they speak volumes about your thinking. Accessibility is not optional. It's part of your responsibility as a communicator or a designer. As you keep building, iterate, get feedback, update your portfolio as your projects evolve. It is something that you will probably always keep working on. And then stay inspired. If you are a student at a university that has an option where you can look at other students' portfolios and get feedback, take advantage of that. You'll gain inspiration from them and you'll be able to use their feedback to enhance your own portfolio. As a caution, portfolios must surface process, decision-making, constraints, not just pretty visuals. Another quote that I just want to throw at you, this is from an article on LinkedIn, Hiring UX Professionals, Why Portfolios Mislead Us. Here's a quote from that article. We don't hire UX designers, we hire portfolio artists. The author warns, portfolios often highlight presentation over process, and that the most valuable UX decisions are invisible. Soft skills vanish in hiring. Collaboration, stakeholder management, resilience, all are critical. All of those are invisible choices. So you want to make sure that you really portray that in your portfolio. When you finish this video, if you want a link or get an email to all of the links and the resources that I talked about here, as well as some examples, you can email me and I will send that to you. I have a lot of portfolio examples for inspiration, or if you want to just get some feedback on what you're working on, feel free to email me. I will also encourage you to check out the next one in this series where I talk about common pitfalls for communication students and for UXD students as they're creating their portfolio. Thank you for joining me, and I hope that you can join a live event at some point. That is invaluable to be able to ask questions and see what other students are working on at the same time. Thank you. Bye.